military bases. I'm joined now by the leaders of the freshman class in the House, Congressman John Delaney, Democrat from Maryland, and the senior whip, and Congressman Messer, Republican from Indiana and president of the freshman class. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Congressman Messer, you're one of those rare Republicans who supports an increase in the minimum wage nationwide, and you propose a kind of, or at least said you would support a two-tier increase that separates college students and teenagers from people supporting a family. And if you look at our new poll, it finds 51% view raising the minimum wage as a priority. I guess the big question is, can you convince your fellow Republicans?
Well, I mean, the details will matter here. I think we can all agree that no one should work a full-time job and play by the rules in America and live in poverty. I suggested a two-tier approach may be one way. I would like to look at efforts that expanded the earned income tax credit, maybe adjusted the minimum wage to inflation from where it was just a few years ago. I think there's a path here forward that it deals with the core challenge. We also need to make sure that we aren't hurting more people than we're helping with a change.
And Congressman Delaney, I mean, this is the question. How do we get people together? The devil's always in the details, and we know that the 113th Congress passed just 65 bills in its first year, the fewest in any single session on record. You have a little bit of experience with this. You co-sponsored that bipartisan infrastructure bill that, in fact, 25 other Republicans are supporting. But I'm wondering what you've learned in your first year in Congress that might help you get this legislation through, that might help Congressman Messer move forward on things like the minimum wage. What's going on in Congress?
So what I've learned is that if you're reasonable with people and you focus on the facts, you can actually get things done. Luke and I have worked on several things together, including the infrastructure bill, and all the great things that have happened have been done at this intersection, or this terrific intersection of principle and compromise. And you have to come to the table, and you have to be sensitive of what the other person cares about, and you have to be reasonable, and you have to craft something that is consistent with people's principles, but also has the spirit of compromise.
Well, Congressman Messer, you were nodding when he said you have to be reasonable, but since things aren't getting done, who's not being reasonable? Is it intransigence in veterans, long-standing members of Congress? Is it why can't more people not just talk the talk, but walk the walk?
Listen, there are differences and disagreements of principle, but there's several things I've learned in my first year here. One, out in the real world, when people are trying to solve a problem, you start where you agree and work from there. Too often in Washington, we seem to start where we disagree and stop there. Secondly, I think part of the problem is people are in and out of here so quickly, come in, fly in on Tuesdays, leave on Thursdays, they don't even know each other. And we all know in real life that it's easier to work with people that you know. It's one of the reasons why John and I are working with our class. We've had, through other colleagues as well, 5 or 6, 7 different meetings where we've gotten together. John and I are sitting tonight at the State of the Union, and we need to start to focus where we agree and move forward.
Well, I hope you consider this to be a compliment. I've heard you referred to as kind of this social director on a cruise ship, because you've been getting both sides together for these social gatherings, and I'm wondering, Congressman Delaney, if you're seeing that is reaping benefits.
Of course that reaps benefits. I mean, if you spend time with people and really get to know them, it makes it really hard to say bad things about them. And if you stop saying bad things about people, you can actually start working with them. And one of the problems we have here in Congress, as Luke said, is people don't spend enough time together. They don't develop personal relationships. So they feel very comfortable being hyper-partisan. And it's really unfortunate. Whereas you actually get to know people, you can work with them. It's just like what we see in the real world.
Yeah, one of the things I'm sorry, go ahead, Congressman.
I was just going to say, Chris, and the real test of this now will be, can we move from that to policy? John's got a great infrastructure bill. We've talked about educational opportunities, things like programs around school choice. I think the minimum wage may be another area we can work together. And the key is, once you know each other, it's amazing what can start to happen.
But I wonder, and I'd like a quick comment from both of you, because over the years I've talked to so many freshmen, and of course you run for office because you think you can make a difference, and then you get there and you realize what the reality is. And I think in the last couple of years it's been even tougher. And I'll start with you, Congressman Messer. Is it frustrating? Are you still hopeful? What do you think about sort of the state of being able to get things done?
Well, you know, I was taught by my mom, if people ask you how you're doing in life, just say great, because they don't care about any other answer. And I've had to change my answer a little bit because people are so frustrated out here, and understandably so. I feel challenged but hopeful. Listen, this country's come through a lot of big challenges before. Working together, we can get there. We won't leave our principles behind, but there's a lot more that can get done.
Congressman Delaney, is it very different than you thought or hoped it would be?
No, I would say it's similar. You know, I came to Congress with a view that our government was designed so that if we don't agree as a country, it's hard for us to get things done. And if we agree, it's easy to get things done. And I think Congress reflects that. That's the way our founding fathers designed it. And I share Luke's hopefulness. If you look at all the significant problems we have, we can fix all of these problems.
Well,
and compared to the challenges we faced historically, these, in many ways, are relatively modest challenges. But what we have to do is we have to find common ground. And I think politically, the parties that will be successful will be the ones that start speaking to the other side and actually start building common ground. Because I think if we can get the country together, then Congress will reflect that and actually start doing things. And I think on economic policy in particular, on domestic economic policy, there's a huge opportunity for Congress. Luke and I are working together on infrastructure. I share his framing of how we should think about the minimum wage. We're working on education initiatives. So there's a lot of opportunities for all of us to work together.
Congressman John Delaney and Luke Messer, it's great having you both on. Come back again.